in that entire time, which is a terrorist event or a terrorist death on U.S. soil, which is sort of interesting. How do you justify a war on terrorism with those kind of statistics? Okay, seems like the moral of the story is stay away from Iraq. That's where these terrorist events are occurring. Now, supposedly there's some kind of a criteria where these are private citizens as opposed to officials, and with all the private people we have as contractors and so forth, I'm not sure how exactly they determine which ones are terrorist deaths and which ones are deaths by being too close to a war that's going on. So that seems rather misleading in itself. For comparison, let's look at some other causes of concern. Here are some annual causes of death in the United States. Tobacco, 435,000 per year. Poor diet and physical inactivity, 365,000 per year. Alcohol, 85,000. Microbial agents, 75,000. Toxic agents, 55,000. Motor vehicle crashes, 26,000. Now catch this one. Adverse reactions to prescription drugs, 32,000. Suicide, 30,000. Excuse me. Suicide, 30,000. Incidents involving firearms, 29,000. Homicide, 20,000. Sexual behaviors, 20,000. All illicit drug use, direct and indirect, 17,000. Non-steroidal and anti-inflammatory drugs such as aspirin, 7,600. Okay, should we be having a war on aspirin? Thousands and thousands of times more deaths due to aspirin than due to terrorism in the United States since 2001. I looked up snake bite because initially that was the first thing I looked up actually. I was thinking, you know, terrorism is way down there with snake bite, but it turns out there's 50,000 snake bite deaths per year worldwide, and most of those are in Asia, but still 300 to 500 per year in North America. So that probably, you know, I'm sure that includes Canada and Mexico as well, but still way, way higher than what we consider so threatening to our well-being that we declare war on terror. And by declaring war on terror, what it's really doing is it's putting a war on the U.S. population. It's taking away our civil liberties, trying to protect us from this non-existent threat. So it's basically a rationale to ratchet up you know, the kinds of measures that limit your freedoms. And in other words, if you get the least little bit out of line, somebody is afraid you're going to be a terrorist or something. Okay, so go back and look for a second. You know that homicide rate, 20,000 in the U.S. Right? So another moral of the story: maybe we should build a border fence, but it should be a border fence to keep the U.S. murderers in, protect our neighboring countries from this incredible homicide rate. That's a way bigger threat than trying to build a border fence to keep, you know, dangerous aliens out. Okay, so terror. If you just think of the word terrorism, terror is a condition. It's a state of mind. It's something that the person who perceives it is. It's basically a statement that the person perceiving this event is in a state of fear. In other words, terror is a state of fear. And the solution to terror is quit being terrified of a non-existent threat, or virtually non-existent threat. Way down, way, way below snake bites, way, way down below lightning strikes. Something which is has been conjured up with the express purpose of limiting your freedom and exerting control over you. So, there you have it. That's my opinion.
All right. I really like David Chandler. He's not just a physics professor. He's also a pretty decent human being, judging by what you just heard. What Well,
So we just had a war on terror for the past 8 years and spent $1 zillion,
Right,
and the chances of getting a snake bite and dying are higher.
yeah, doesn't that piss you off? I mean, here we are, everybody's talking about what we need is jobs, what we need is, you know, some way to support our families, and yet year after year, for as long as I can remember my entire life, almost all of the money that's available goes to fighting war.
Yeah.
Blowing up stuff, making bombs and blowing it up, and then doing it again and doing it again. And every time they get to the point where, you know, the people like me and others who, you know, hate that type of activity finally make a little bit of a dent and start, you know, doing things that might stop it, they switch midstream into another scenario. Now it's terrorism. But I mean, they switch seamlessly from the Cold War, from communism, the Cold War. I don't even have the order anymore. You know, Vietnam and communism, then the Cold War, and then
Central America, all those, you know, wars down there.
and it's all nonsense. It's all just absolute hype.
But we have a U.S. military presence in 140 countries. Now that gets to be quite expensive as we're policing the world.
Yeah, and it's like 700 to 900 bases in those countries.
Right. Once we fight a war, we don't leave. We're still in Germany. You know, we don't leave.
I saw a bumper sticker that said, endless war, or it said
End this war.
It said endless war, and they crossed off,
L.
or it said end this war, crossed off this, and said less, or it was the other way around. Anyway, the point was endless war is what we have.
But I want to make one more point about the news. We're
Yeah.
force-fed news all day long on the radio, in the car, and it's coming from a couple agencies: Associated Press, United Press International, UPI, and Reuters. Well, until I know who these private organizations are and who their managing editor is and what their agenda is, I'm not interested in their news. Thank you very much.
That's right.
I'll go on the internet and find my own websites and find out for myself what I deem to be the news.
Okay, our next live show, April 17th, coming up 2 weeks from today. Tune back and watch that. And you'll be able to watch this show on blip.tv. It's 9/11 was an inside job.blip.tv. And also on YouTube. And you can find it. I just put in my name, Bill Olson, and dash 9/11, and up popped my show. I figured, a lot of people have complained that they were being messed with on the search engines, but I haven't found any problem that way. In fact, I'm waiting to be bugged by somebody. You know, it would be a badge of honor if I could say that I'm being intimidated by the police or something. But no, I haven't even been contacted.
Jesse Ventura's new TV show and book.
Oh, yeah.
And We Are Change, we talked about today. Throw in your 2 cents.
You can sign into my YouTube channel. 251 Omega is the name of my YouTube channel. So if you go there, every time I put a video up there, you'll get an email saying, hey, come and look at it.
But everybody put in your 2 cents.
Yeah,
right?
Put in your 2 cents.
Whatever that is
That's
called.
what you can do. You say, what can I do? You can at least tell everybody that your opinion is that 9/11 was an inside job. And that's more than most people are doing right now. So you'll really help.
All right.
So,
thanks a lot,
thanks
everybody.
a lot.
Good night.
See you next time.
It's a wrap.
Almost a wrap.